No one owns their body anymore. Not truly. Not in a city where skin is currency, and the mind is a vault waiting to be cracked. The elites call it ascension, this act of slipping into another's flesh like a tailored suit. For the rest of us, it's just survival. Rent your limbs to strangers. Let them puppet your nerves for a night. And maybe you'll earn enough credits to keep your organs from being repossessed. But the neural proxies, those sleek spider-legged implants burrowed into our brainstems, always take a little more than they give. Memories, morals, the quiet hum of you. Zevran Vossk knew the price better than most. He'd been NexaCore's favorite toy once, a prototype with skillwires that turned his bones into weapons and his blood into code. But prototypes break, they glitch, and when they do, the corporation sends ghosts to clean up the mess. Hunters like Corinne Scyra, whose ocular implant sees through lies and whose ledger drowns in red. Somewhere in the acid rain labyrinth of the city, a mayor dies with Zevran's face reflected in his dead eyes. Somewhere a database flickers with files marked Chimera, and a lab technician whispers, "They're erasing him." And somewhere, deep in the static between betrayal and truth, two pawns stumble toward an ugly revelation. The most dangerous thing you can steal from a machine isn't its secrets, it's the right to remember. The game begins with a corpse, a lie, and a question neither can outrun. What's left of a man when his own mind is a crime scene? Chapter 1. Rain fell in greasy streaks, smearing the neon glare of the city into a watercolor hemorrhage. Zevran Vossk blinked awake, the world tilting like a broken gyroscope. His hands were slick, crimson pooling in the crevices of his knuckles. The alley reeked of ozone and decay, the air thrumming with the low-grade whine of faulty bioluminescent ads. His skull pulsed, a jagged rhythm that matched the flicker of the NexaCore logo glowing above him. A serpent coiled around a pyramid, its neon eyes judging. Another blackout. He staggered to his feet, the synth leather of his jacket clinging to his back like a second skin. The body on the ground was unfamiliar. A man in a tailored suit, throat slit with surgical precision. Blood seeped into the grill of a storm drain, whispering secrets Zevran couldn't hear. His neural implant throbbed, a parasite nesting behind his left ear. Fragments of memory fluttered like moth-eaten film, a champagne flute shattering, a woman's laugh, the acrid tang of fear. Not mine, never mine. He flexed his fingers, half expecting phantom tremors. The skill wires embedded in his nervous system hummed, dormant but hungry. Last night's client must have paid extra for wet work. Debt slaves didn't get to veto job specs. A siren wailed in the distance. Zevran melted into the crowd flooding the arterial walkways, his face downcast beneath a holographic billboard hawking synthetic adrenals. The city breathed in binary, scrolling prices for black market prosthetics, the hiss of pneumatic doors, the wet cough of a junkie slumped in a doorway. He kept his gait steady, but his mind raced. NexaCore owned his body, his hours, the very synapses firing in his brain. But this was a first. They framed you. Why? The thought slithered, unwelcome. He'd been a good dog. A hollow laugh clawed up his throat. Good dogs didn't wake up covered in politicians' blood. Corinne Scyra stood in the sterile glow of NexaCore's surveillance hub, her reflection fractured across a dozen security feeds. The ocular implant in her right eye parsed data in crisp amber glyphs. Subject Vossk Sector 9 Delta. Probability of flight 87%. Terminate on sight, her commander had said, voice stripped of effect. Assets gone rogue. She'd nodded, the lie smooth in her throat. Rogue assets didn't leave mayors butchered in back alleys. They disappeared, quietly. Her fingers grazed the scar beneath her collarbone, a relic from her Black Ops days, when NexaCore's orders came drenched in blood and deniability. She'd burned that self, buried it under protocols and promotions. But the itch remained, a ghost limb twitching at the smell of cordite. The hub's air recyclers hissed. On a feed, Zevran Vossk wove through the chrysalis market, a labyrinth of black market stalls and data peddlers. His face was all angles and shadows, eyes sharp even through the pixelated haze. She'd studied his file, a debt slave turned proxy doll, skill wires turning his body into a marionette for bored elites, and now a patsy, or something else. She ejected the feed cartridge, her implant auto-tagging his gait pattern. The market's neon canopies would blind thermal scans. Smart, but not smart enough. Zevran ducked into a stall, reeking of fried insect protein and solder fumes. The vendor, a gnarled woman with optic cables braided into her hair, glanced up, her gaze lingering on his blood-crusted sleeves. Looking to forget. Pretty ghost. She gestured to a rack of bootleg neurochem vials. Looking for answers, he muttered. The skill wires itched beneath his skin. He'd need a hack surgeon soon. Before his brain started shredding itself, a flicker on a cracked surveillance screen caught his eye. His own face, pixelated and grim. Wanted homicide. Terrorist ATAT. The ticker below screamed. Mayor Cache slain in coup attempt. His stomach turned. The screen fizzed to static as the vendor yanked its power cord. You didn't see that here, she hissed. Voices erupted outside. Police drones barking in staccato binary. Zevran bolted into a service corridor, his boots slipping on algae-slick concrete. The skill wires flared, injecting a stolen parkour protocol into his muscles. He vaulted a chain-link fence, tendons screaming, and landed in a squat on a rusted fire escape. How many times have I done this? How many times have I been erased? The drones buzzed closer. He clambered upward, the city spreading below like a circuit board. Rain needled his face. At the rooftop's edge a figure materialized. A woman in a trench coat, hair shorn to a dark bristle, eyes twin barrels of cold light. Zevran Vossk. Her voice was a scalpel. You're coming in. He froze. Her stance screamed corporate enforcer, but her fingers hovered near her hip holster. Hesitant. You're not here to take me alive, he said. You're not here to stay alive. Her ocular implant whirred, targeting reticle locked on his forehead. The skill wires surged before he could think, flooding his veins with combat reflexes. He lunged. She fired. The bullet grazed his ribs, hot and bright. They collided, crashing into a satellite array. Sparks rained as he pinned her, her sidearm skittering into the dark. Why'd they frame me? He snarled. She twisted, kneeing his gut. You tell me, puppet. He hesitated. Her breath hitched, micro-expressions flickering. Doubt, recognition, fear. Not of him, of something older. A drone spotlight speared the rooftop. Zevran rolled aside, yanking her into the shadows. You know I didn't do this. I know you're a ghost in a meat suit, she spat. But her gaze dipped to his implant, its edges inflamed. How many proxies have you run? Enough to know they're lying to you too. Static crackled in his skull. He gasped, vision fracturing. A lab white and sterile. A man in a NexaCore badge smiling. You're perfect, Zev. The first true hybrid. Scalpels gleam. Pain blooms. Corinne's gloved hand gripped his arm, hauling him upright. Move. Now. They descended into the bowels. A subterranean warren, where the city's waste pooled in irradiated sumps. Zevran's head pounded, each step a drumbeat of decay. Corinne moved like a wraith, her implant casting a faint halo over corroded pipes. Why? He rasped. She didn't look back. Your implant's glitching. You're remembering things, aren't you? A fist of ice closed around his heart. You've seen this before. Seen it. I lived it. She paused at a blast door, inputting a code. NexaCore plants memories, rewrites loyalties. I was their knife until I cut too deep. The door creaked open, revealing a bunker cluttered with antique servers and weapon racks. She tossed him a neural stabilizer vial. You're a liability, and I'm a fool. He caught it, the liquid inside glowing like liquid starlight. So why save me? Her laugh was bitter. Let's call it a professional curiosity. He injected the stabilizer, the cool rush dulling the static. For a moment their eyes met. Two ghosts in a machine-built hell. Outside the city groaned. A beast fed on lies and lithium. Somewhere above, NexaCore's towers pierced the smog, unshaken. Zevran smiled, all teeth. Let's burn them down. Corinne's lips twitched. Not quite trust. Not yet, but close enough. Chapter 2. The bowels breathed. Steam hissed from fractured pipes, clouding the air with the stench of rust and ionized waste. Zevran pressed a hand to the wall, fingertips skimming moss that glowed faintly under the blacklight of Corinne's ocular implant. Her silhouette cut through the haze ahead, sharp and deliberate, a blade navigating fog. He wondered, distantly, why she hadn't shot him again. Professional curiosity. The phrase curdled in his mind. Curiosity killed more than cats in this city. It killed debt slaves and ex-enforcers who asked too many questions. His neural implant prickled, a wasp's nest lodged behind his ear. The stabilizer she'd given him had dulled the static, but his skull still felt like a cracked egg, yolk dripping into the void. They emerged into a transit hub long abandoned, its vaulted ceiling strung with bioluminescent fungi. Ancient maglev tracks lay buried under drifts of ash and discarded synth flesh. Corinne crouched beside a corroded service terminal, her gloves peeling back layers of grime to expose its keypad. NexaCore's data vaults are buried under the old financial district, she said, voice clipped. We need access codes. Yours might still work. Zevran stared at his hands, still streaked with the mayor's blood. I'm a puppet. Puppets don't get codes. You're a prototype. She didn't look up. Your skill wires aren't just for rent. They're a test bed. That means back doors, privileges. The word prototype buzzed in his teeth. He'd always assumed his body was a rental car, scratched and loaned out to joyriders. But if NexaCore had built him to be something more, you were perfect, Zev. The memory slithered, unbidden. A white room, scalpels, a man's voice, warm and clinical. He clenched his jaw, the skill wires under his skin writhing like eels. Corinne stood abruptly. You're glitching again. I'm fine. You're twitching. Her gaze narrowed, amber glyphs flickering in her iris. How many stabilizers have you burned through? Enough to know the vial she'd given him was military grade, rare, expensive, a debt he couldn't repay. He turned away, scanning the hub. A flicker of movement in the shadows. A rat. A drone? The fungi pulsed gently, indifferent. Why do you care? He muttered. She hesitated. For a heartbeat the enforcer's mask slipped. Because I've been where you are. The migraines. The phantom memories. NexaCore rewrites your mind until you can't tell their lies from your own breath. Her gloved hand brushed her collarbone, where the scar hid. A silent confession. Zevran stepped toward the terminal. What do you need me to do? The code extraction was a knife dragged through his synapses. Corinne had jury-rigged the terminal to interface directly with his neural implant. Think of it as a forced recall, she'd said. The codes are in you somewhere. Now electricity spidered through his skull. His vision fragmented. A woman laughing, her face pixelated. A child's hand in his. The taste of copper. A code 74X9 Kappa Phi. He gagged, bile scorching his throat. The skill wires flared, scrambling to compensate. Combat protocols. Hacking suites. A ballet of stolen competencies that left him gasping on the floor, fingers clawing at the ash. Corinne's hands gripped his shoulders. Stay with me. Easy for you to say, he rasped. You're not the one getting brain fucked. A flicker of something like guilt crossed her face. She pressed a fresh stabilizer to his neck. The cool rush muted the fire, but the ghosts lingered. Got it, she said, studying the terminal. Level 9 clearance. NexaCore's inner sanctum. Zevran laughed, a raw sound. Congratulations, you've turned me into a skeleton key. You were always a weapon. She stood holstering her sidearm. The question is who's holding you now? The financial district loomed above them, a necropolis of dead capitalism. Glass skyscrapers leaned like drunkards, their facades scabbed with lichen and propaganda holograms. NexaCore's vault was hidden beneath a derelict stock exchange, its entrance guarded by proxy drones, corpses reanimated with skill wires, their movements jerky and precise. Corinne mapped their patrol patterns with her implant, lips pressed into a bloodless line. They're running military-grade combat protocols. We'll need to overload their neural feeds. We? Zevran arched a brow. She tossed him a disruptor grenade. You're the one with backdoor privileges. He caught it, the metal cold against his palm. The skill wires buzzed eager. Duty versus desire. The grenade trembled in his grip. How many times had he thrown one for NexaCore's profit? How many times had he woken up with someone else's sin staining his hands? The drones pivoted in unison, hollow eyes locking onto him. Now, he primed the grenade and charged. Mia chaos was a language. Zevran spoke fluently. The disruptor's pulse shredded the drone's neural links, sending them spasming. He danced through their ranks, skill wires singing. A blade lifted from Corinne's bunker, sliced through cervical cables, spilling black ichor. His body moved with borrowed grace, a marionette of muscle memory. But the migraine swelled, a tsunami threatening to capsize him. Not yet, not here. Corinne covered his flank, her shots surgical. She fought like a storm contained, every motion calculated, every breath rationed. When a drone lunged at her, he intercepted it, driving his blade into its skull. Their eyes met over the corpse, the air crackling with unspoken words. Why? She didn't answer. The vault's core was a cathedral of data. Server towers hummed like monks at prayer, their blue LEDs casting watery light over a central terminal. Zevran's implants synced automatically, the skill wires vomiting code into his vision. Accessing. Corinne watched the entrance, her back rigid. Hurry. Files cascaded through his mind. Black budgets, assassination orders, research logs. And then, Project Chimera. Subject Zevran Vossk. Status hybridization successful. His breath hitched. Video footage played behind his eyelids. Himself younger, clean, strapped to a gurney as technicians fed skill wires into his spine. A man in a NexaCore badge smiled off camera. You're the future, Zev. The perfect blend of man and machine. But the memory stank of lies. The edges blurred, pixels rearranging. A forgery, or a truth he'd buried. Found something, he croaked. Corinne glanced back. What? He opened his mouth. The servers screamed. Alarms bathed the vault in crimson. Corinne cursed, yanking him from the terminal. They've got a trace. Move. He stumbled, the skill wires sparking. Half-formed memories, nipped at his heels. A lab, a needle, a woman's scream that might have been his own. The vault door slid shut as they sprinted through, sealing with a hydraulic hiss. Did you get it? Corinne demanded, shoving him into a service elevator. Enough to burn them. He leaned against the wall, trembling. But I need. The elevator lurched upward. Corinne gripped his arm, her touch grounding. What? He met her gaze. I need to know what's real. The elevator doors opened to a rooftop storm. Rain needled Zevran's face. The city sprawled below like a dying animal. Corinne's safe house was a derelict weather station, its windows boarded, walls papered with obsolete maps. She injected him with another stabilizer, her hands steady but her eyes fractured. You were part of Chimera, she said quietly. A volunteer, according to the files. He laughed. You believe that? I believe NexaCore. She hesitated. But I also believe they'd erase a volunteer's mind if it suited them. The storm rattled the windows. Zevran studied her. The scar, the implant, the way she cradled her sidearm like a lover. What did they make you forget? Her jaw tightened. Enough to sleep at night. He reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. We're both ghosts, he said. Ghosts can't burn down heaven. She stood abruptly. Rest. We strike the tower at dawn. But dawn brought NexaCore's hunters. They came in the sterile hour before sunrise. Proxy enforcers with dead eyes and live rounds. Corinne's safehouse became a kill box. Zevran fought through a haze of neural decay, the skill wires fraying his motor control. He missed a shot, and a bullet tore through Corinne's shoulder. She didn't cry out, but her silence was worse. Go, she snarled, tossing him a grenade belt. I'll cover you. He hesitated. The enforcers advanced, their movements synchronized. Run. Live. But his feet rooted to the floor. Corinne was a statue of blood and defiance, her gaze daring him to stay. The skill wires erupted. He didn't remember grabbing her, didn't remember leaping through the window. The ground rushed up 30 stories of air and regret, but the skill wires knew what to do. A smuggler's agility, a thief's luck. They hit a lower rooftop, rolling, bones rattling but intact. Corinne's laugh was a broken thing. You idiot. Professional curiosity, he gasped. She gripped his jacket, her blood smearing the leather. They'll keep coming. We need to end this. He nodded. The tower loomed in the distance, its apex piercing the smog. A tombstone, a beacon, a beginning. In the dripping belly of a storm drain, Corinne bandaged her wound with torn synth fabric. Zevran watched, his own hands shaking. The skill wires were failing. He'd seen the signs before: tremors, hallucinations, the way his vision pixelated at the edges. You should leave me, he said. She didn't look up. I don't follow shoulds. I'm a dead man. We're all dead here. Her fingers brushed his wrist, fleeting. But we can choose our pyre. He wanted to ask if she'd chosen him, if this fragile alliance was trust or desperation. But the words dissolved in the static. Outside, the city held its breath. Somewhere above, NexaCore's towers waited, patient, eternal. Zevran closed his eyes. For the first time the ghosts in his mind felt like company. Chapter 3. The storm drain exhaled decay, its walls slick with algae that glimmered faintly under the city's radioactive drizzle. Zevran pressed his palm to the concrete, feeling the vibrations of the metropolis above, a beast stirring in its sleep. Corinne crouched beside him, her breath shallow but steady, the bandage on her shoulder blooming rust red. She had stopped bleeding an hour ago, maybe 2. Time had dissolved into the drip of water and the jagged rhythm of his own pulse. How much longer do I have? The skill wires beneath his skin hissed like faulty wiring, their usual hum now a dissonant screech. His vision frayed at the edges, pixels dancing like static gnats. He'd seen this before in other proxies. The final act of a body rejecting its mechanical symbionts. Twitching hands, hallucinations, a slow unraveling of the self. But the ghosts in his skull felt different tonight, sharper. Corinne's voice cut through the fog. The tower's east arcology. Sub-level vents lead to the server farm. He turned. Her ocular implant cast a faint amber halo over the maps she'd scrawled on the wall with charred wiring. She'd memorized NexaCore's blueprints once, back when she was their blade. Now the lines trembled, not from doubt, but from blood loss. You're in no shape to crawl through vents, he said. Her laugh was a dry rasp. And you're in no shape to walk. She wasn't wrong. His left leg had begun to shudder, the skill wires misfiring. Still he rose, the movement sending a metallic taste flooding his mouth. The storm drain's exit loomed ahead, a jagged maw exhaling the city's electric breath. Beyond it, NexaCore's tower speared the smog, its apex sheathed in lightning from the perpetual storm. The perfect pyre. The arcology's underbelly was a necropolis of dead tech. Zevran dragged himself through coolant ducts, the aluminum groaning under his weight. Corinne followed, her movements clipped but precise, favoring her uninjured side. The air reeked of ionized metal and stale filtration. A tomb's breath. Claustrophobia, he noted distantly. New symptom. His implant spat fragments of memory into the dark. A child's laughter smothered by static. A woman's voice. Don't trust them, Zev. He clenched his jaw. Real or implanted? The line had blurred days ago. Corinne's boot nudged his ribs. Left here. The duct opened into a server farm, its vastness swallowing sound. Server towers stood like monoliths, their LED veins pulsing cobalt. The air hummed with the song of data, a chorus of zeros and ones. Zevran's skill wires vibrated in response, a dog hearing its master's whistle. Almost home. Corinne slid down a support beam, her gaze scanning for patrols. None. Too clean, too quiet. A trap then. They're waiting, she murmured. Let them. Zevran pressed a hand to the nearest server. The skill wires synced, flooding his mind with NexaCore's secrets. Black site coordinates, research logs, 1,000 sins etched in light. And then Project Chimera. Subject Zevran Vossk. Memory implant suite 74X active. Status compliant. The floor tilted. Compliant. Not a volunteer. Not a rebel. A willing cog. Corinne's hand gripped his arm. What is it? He opened his mouth, but the servers screamed to life. Not light strobed. Proxy enforcers descended from gantries, their movements synchronized. Dead eyes glowing azure. Corinne's sidearm barked, rounds ricocheting off reinforced skulls. Zevran moved on instinct, skill wires puppeteering his limbs into a lethal dance. A blade found God knows where, sang through the air, severing spinal cables. Black ichor sprayed, acidic and bitter. How many times have I killed for them? The question dissolved as a enforcer's fist cratered his ribs. He staggered, tasting copper. Corinne's shout sliced through the din, but his ears rang with the voice from the memory logs. You're perfect, Zev. The future. A boot slammed his spine. He crumpled. Above him the enforcer raised its plasma cutter, the blade humming. Is this how it ends? In the belly of the beast, a good dog. The enforcer's head vaporized. Corinne stood behind it, smoke curling from her sidearm's barrel. Get up. He did. Not because she ordered it, but because her eyes, amber and fractured, held something worth rising for. The core chamber lay beyond a vault door, etched with NexaCore's serpent emblem. Zevran's neural implants sparked overriding the locks. The door groaned open, revealing a lab steeped in cold white light. And him, the man from the memories, stood before a bank of holograms. Mid-40s, silver-haired, smiled benign as a surgeon's scalpel. Director Ral, NexaCore's architect of ghosts. Zevran. The director spread his hands. You've come home. Corinne's gun snapped up. Don't. Zevran stepped forward, his body a live wire. Project Chimera. The memories. Were any of them real? The director sighed. Paternal. Does it matter? You chose this. Signed the waivers. Let us make you more than human. A hologram flickered. A younger Zevran, grinning as technicians fed skillwires into his spine. Liar. The word surged from his gut. That's not me. No? The director tapped a console. Zevran's skull erupted with pain. A woman sobbing, his hands around her throat. The director's voice. Good. Again. He fell to his knees. Corinne's shot rang out, but the director sidestepped unhurried. Agent Scyra. He tutted, still clinging to delusions of agency. We made you too. The perfect enforcer. Loyal until we cut your leash. Corinne's face drained. The truth then. She'd always been a puppet. Zevran laughed, blood flecking his teeth. Two ghosts haunting the same machine. The director's smile faded. Terminate them. Proxy enforcers swarmed the chamber. Miss. Zevran's body broke first. A enforcer's taser claw found his thigh, convulsing his muscles. Corinne fought like a dervish, but her bullets dwindled. The director watched, serene, as they were herded toward the core's edge. A plasma pit glowing malevolent green. Endgame. Zevran's gaze met Corinne's. No words, none needed. He reached into his skull, metaphorically, and yanked. The skill wires screamed. Protocols flooded his nerves, overclocked, unstable. He became a storm, a weapon unbound. Enforcers melted under his fists, but his veins burned. Blood dripped from his nostrils, black and thick. Corinne shouted his name, or maybe it was the wind. The director retreated, fear cracking his mask. Zevran lunged, fingers closing around the man's throat. Tell me, he rasped. What's real? The director choked. Why you were nothing before us. Zevran smiled. Then let me be nothing again. He slammed the director's head into the core console. The tower shuddered. Alarms wailed. Corinne dragged Zevran from the crumbling core, his body a rag doll. The skill wires were dead now. Fried. His mind felt quiet, free. They stumbled into the storm. The city sprawled below. NexaCore's stock tickers imploded across holograms. The truth of Chimera, burning through the feeds. Corinne collapsed beside him on a sky bridge, her breath ragged. Idiot. Professional curiosity. He coughed. She pressed a neural stabilizer to his neck. The last one. This'll erase the skill wires. All of them. You'll be ordinary. He caught her wrist. Will you stay? Her thumb brushed his cheek, a touch lighter than the rain. When the wires cool, the stabilizer flooded his veins. The world dimmed. He woke to sunlight. Real sunlight, slicing through the smog in rare golden shafts. Corinne sat nearby, her ocular implant dark, scar bared to the dawn. NexaCore's gone, she said. He flexed his hand. No tremors, no ghosts. Who am I now? She handed him a holopad. A news ticker scrolled. Whistleblower exposes NexaCore atrocities. City in chaos. A photo beneath it, himself. Pre-Chimera. A lab technician. A nobody. He stared. Is that you? Corinne stood, offering a hand. Before they remade you. He took it. Her grip was calloused, real. What now? He asked. She gazed at the horizon, where the tower's ruins smoldered. We run. We rebuild. We remember. They walked east, toward the wastes, leaving the city to its scars. Behind them the storm began to clear. Epilogue. 3 months later, a package arrived at a desert safe house. Inside a stabilizer vial, a data chip of NexaCore's survivors, and a note. Find me when the wires cool. Zevran smiled, pocketed the chip and stepped into the sun. Somewhere, Corinne Scyra waited. And the ghosts? They slept.